Okay, this is my third attempt. Ran into a couple problems on the first two videos. So now I might actually get it faster this time. Okay, so basically what we're dealing with here, we got the Kohler K141s. You can see just a sticker on the front. It's got the long life ACR automatic compression release, ball bearing internal governor on the side. The Kohler engine, model number K141s, spec number 29360D. Referred owner's manual for operation and maintenance instructions. Kohler Company, Wisconsin, USA. Serial number 3177032. So we're going to go through the engine really quickly, for not only for everybody else's references, for mine, so I can remember how this thing's work if I ever need to come back and reference this. For me it's pretty simple now because I've gone over it a couple times, but so let's see. So starting with the battery, this is the only part from here forward, from here up ahead. It's unfocused the whole time. Okay, so from here forward on the battery, I don't have any wiring connected to the engine other than positive and negative. So this goes down here, blah blah blah. Okay, so no wires are connected up to this dash at all. Yeah, so anyway, okay, let's start here. I had a bad switch the other day. I had to replace this. This is brand new. So let me try to explain this circuit here. Okay, I've got a positive wire coming down to my starter solenoid. So when I press the button here, this connects to that, which also connects to the starter. So I've got one wire going to the starter from the solenoid. And whenever, so whenever I push this, the push button starter, it's spring loaded, that engages the starter. Really simple system. This yellow wire is also on the positive terminal, and it's a constant power. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody. So I'm going to go through all these wires individually, but let me just try to follow the circuit first. So this goes as positive 12 volts, goes underneath to this yellow wire. This yellow wire goes across the engine, comes out the other side to an instrument to read the voltage. On the other side of that instrument comes out another 12 volt positive that is a return from this one going back across the engine. So normally there was an instrument over here where this engine used to exist on another machine. So basically the 12 volt positive is coming over here, and it's coming right back over again to the other side. Okay, so here are those wires again. This wire right here and that yellow wire go to an instrument on the opposite side of the engine. Now we're following the circuit still, so we're doing it in order. So from that, the 12 volt goes over to the instrument and then comes back. So the electricity is coming through this way still, 12 volt positive, and joins into this switch leg on this side, on off. Okay, so at the same time it also couples, and it just has a little pigtail over to the other circuit. So this 12 volt is coming into the switch, and then it has a pigtail to give 12 volt positive to the other leg of the switch. So there are two legs. This one only contacts this terminal, and this one only contacts this terminal when you turn it on. So there are two circuits here. When you turn it on, these two to connect together and these two connect together. But the way this is wired, all this 12 volts is on both circuits. So when I turn the switch on, basically what happens is all of these wires in my hand right now, they become 12 volt positive. including this yellow wire. They're all 12 volt positive. Okay. The ground is on everything is through the frame. So let's continue. When the machine is switched on, there's a blue wire coming from the switch that when the switch turns on, this gets 12 volts, this goes across, and this goes over to the coil. That's this wire right here. I'm sorry, right here on the coil. So that goes to one part of the coil. That's this blue wire. So it's basically switched on when you turn the machine on. So it's switched on at 12 volts. Okay. This other wire, we already know that it's feeding and it's connected to the yellow. So this other wire, this thick blue wire, is a lead into the voltage regulator. And there's one wire up there, right there, that goes into the voltage regulator. Now two of them come out with white paint on them, and they go through the heat shrink tube into the engine. They go into the guts of the engine. Okay? So that's pretty straightforward as far as the wiring goes on this thing. It's really simple. There are no wires up on the dash for any reason. So that's how the whole thing is simply wired like that. Now, it's got an ignition coil on the inside, of course, it's self-contained. Again, I discussed this. These went to an instrument of some sort, probably a meter for the voltage. This wire is a constant 12 volt coming off of the coil. I'm sorry, this is a switched on. When the switch is on, this is 12 volt positive. And what I did was I took that lead and I put a light on here. So 12 volt positive, 12 volt negative. And when I turn the switch on, red light. So that way I know when the power is on or not. Real simple. Okay, so let's go back to the coil. On the coil, we got the one to the condenser. We got one wire going down to the points. One wire to the condenser, one to the points. It's that simple. And then we got the coil to the spark plug. Pretty simple. So yesterday, I was having a lot of problems. This engine used to run amazing, and I know it can still, but ever since I put it on this tractor, it was giving me problems, and I think it was because I added the fuel tank. I don't know. So I had to go through this carburetor. I got the high-low, the fuel mixtures, the main jet, and the idle. Kind of got those right. Thankfully, a guy on YouTube does an amazing explanation of that. I think that is as good as I can get. I do have a little tiny bit of sputter every now and then, but I blame that on the age, but I really feel like I just got to tune something else in just right. But we got all that right. So one thing I learned, and one thing I changed on my engine, maybe I shouldn't have, but this linkage up here, this guy was saying, hey, I put my linkage on this one usually because that's what works best for me. And mine was up there. And so I dropped it down here because I still was having problems up there, and I dropped it down here. I think it might have improved things. I really need to drive this a long term to really see how it changed things. But basically, I went by his instructions basically to change my linkage from there to there. And what I love about this engine is this is the only linkage is this one bar. I hate those springs and linkages everywhere because those things wear out and the springs get weaker, and yeah, especially for this age. So he explained everything really well, how you set the timing on there. All of this plate, he shows the adjustment. I'm not going to go through this because he has, thankfully. So this is the 141S. You don't really see any of these on YouTube. You see the T's, and you don't really see this S because the electric start. And again, I'll emphasize the 15 amp charger. I'm sorry, yeah, the 15 amp that it puts out to charge the battery. It's made really for charging a car battery. So it does really good in charging. Okay, so that leads me, that's a good segue actually. That leads me to the point. Now, it's going to be hard for me to really figure out how to do this, but let's see if I can do it. So I'm going to take a reading on the battery. I got 12.65 volts, okay? See if I can do this now. I don't think I can. We'll see. Take a reading on this switch. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something else here. Okay, 12 volts. Excuse me. So I got 12 volts running through the system right now. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because earlier, I took a reading on it earlier and it was fine. But when it was running, to me, I believe it was only putting out like 7 to 8. I mean, it was only running on like 7 to 8 volts here. So I'm going to have to check that again. I'm going to start this up in a moment. And we're going to see what that reading is again. But I don't know so much that there is a problem here. Because like I said, everything works great as far as the electronic system. But for some reason, it seems to be operating on 7 to 8 volts. And I can be wrong about that. I hope that the instrument makes a fool of me now that I said that. But earlier when I took a reading on it, when it was running, it was only running 7 to 8 volts. I turned up the RPMs and the voltage actually dropped. So let's see if that happens again. And I still can't explain it even if it does. Okay, so turn it on. If I just give this a little choke, hit the start button, it'll probably fire right up. Yep, just like I expected. Can't really do better than that starting your instrument. Okay, so let's see if I can't get a reading on here now. It's going to be hard for me with one hand. Positive. Negative. Yeah, I'm going to have to do something different here. Hold on. $12.7. $12.7. .7 volts. Okay, so that's different than before, and that's good. So we're running on 12.7 volts. She's running good. Let me see if she test drives well or not. I'm not sure. We're going to have to see what happens. I'm going to take a screwdriver just in case. If I have one close. Yep, I do. I'm going to take a screwdriver because it might need an adjustment along the way. A little bit of our RPM and see if that helps anything. Okay, sounds good so far. Let's see what she does. It seems like she's fighting a little bit. take this load. Oh yeah. That did that really nicely. Oh yeah. I got it dialed in pretty good. Yep, she's running right now. I've got the PTO turned on to give it a load also. So I wanted to test that under a load because that's where it really matters on your carb adjustments. So I want to show that how low this idle goes, and I'm not sure how low it goes. We'll see. Ooh, just barely. I'm going to actually give it some gas. Start it back up. Get some oil. Pump it. You see how she does right here. I just dumped it. Yep, I would say that I'm not going to get much better than that on the tuning. Alright, I'm going to sign out. I think that's all the information I can give. I know that this is not going to work. I'm going to try to get the hood on there. I'm going to struggle to find a place for the gas. But eventually it sounds like I'm going to have to take all these wires and move them up to the dash at some point and get that gas tank over here because this is a little bit too hot up in this area. And yep, I'm going to have to put the gas tank on. So, alright, signing out.